What's going on, YouTube? It's Tom here, and we're back with another Maxamet Experience episode. And before we get into that, I just want to say thank you to all you guys, because we're now over 200 subs, and that's pretty awesome. I never figured when I started this channel that we'd have this many people watching, and it's pretty cool to be able to put out videos for this many of you guys that you guys are interested in. So thank you, and let's get right into the video here. So if you guys are new to the channel or new to the Maxamet Experience, what I do is I have this Spyderco Native 5 in Maxamet, as you guys can see right there. And what I'm doing is, this is my first ever experiences with Maxamet, and what I'm doing is I'm documenting all of my use and experiences with the steel, because I don't think anyone else has ever done anything quite like this, and I think it's beneficial to the community to kind of figure out where Maxamet stands as a steel and how it performs as an everyday use steel. So anyhow, we have 2 previous episodes to this, so if you guys are new to this, go check those out first so you can see my initial experiences with it. We're on episode 2 now, and we have 1 sharpening under our belt, so I kind of have an idea of how this steel performs. So let's get right into where we left off after the last video. So I had some use on the edge after the last video. You guys saw when I was cutting paper, it was a little bit raggedy, and it would still cut pretty easily actually, but it wasn't quite as clean as I would expect. So let's go over a little bit of the use that I've put on this knife since episode 1, and then we'll go over the total use from the first sharpening all the way up to the second sharpening now. So after the first episode, I cut up 14 small boxes, 6 medium boxes, 7 plastic straps, 2 zip ties, 2 clamshell packs. The little test strips from my cutting test, I cut 303 of those in half. I have to cut those in half to fit them into the garbage bag to take them out to the garbage. So I cut 303 of those. I cut about 8 feet of foam. I did some weird twist cuts into packaging at work to make it fit on a peg. I'll throw in a video of that right now. I did 10 of those. Cut 230 feet of cardboard, cut 20 feet of really thick cardboard, and then cut up 1 mac and cheese box. Like I said, this is everyday use. It's all sorts of funky stuff. That's where we left off last time. That's all the use since the last video. So let's go through the total use between the first sharpening and now. So since then, we've broken down 16 small boxes, 14 medium boxes, 9 large boxes, cut 7 plastic straps, 4 zip ties, opened 3 clamshell packs, cut up 447 test strips, cut 8 feet of foam, 10 twist cuts into a package, 270 total feet of cardboard, 20 feet of the thick cardboard, 3 mac and cheese boxes, opened 28 knife boxes, cut up 3 juice bottles, cut up 1 laundry detergent bottle, and yes, I processed 1 chicken for dinner. Like I said, I use this thing for everything. It's all sorts of weird stuff. So that was pretty interesting. That's actually a really decent amount of use off of 1 edge. It would still kind of sort of cut paper if I really made it do it. It didn't have the bite anymore. The only reason I really sharpened it as soon as I did was because I was leaving on a trip for 3 or 4 days and decided that I didn't want a dull knife with me on the trip. So I sharpened it up real quick. I probably only would have gotten 1 or 2 more days of use out of it. There really wouldn't have been a whole lot. But that is pretty impressive. That was a lot of use off of that 1 edge, and we should be getting better as the edges go on, since we obviously know, if you guys watch any of the Outpost 76 videos or even my video I just did on the OS 8, that factory edges and the subsequent edges after that tend not to be the best until you get rid of the fatigued steel that's right there on the edge. So we should be getting a little bit better with every sharpening. So I kind of had a theory on how Maxamet breaks down as opposed to other steels. So I'm going to join you guys over on the computer actually, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys some USB microscope pictures of the edge before I sharpened it. So okay guys, let's before we get into showing just what Maxamet ended up looking like after all that use. I'm going to show you some pictures of a finer grain steel, super blue here, and we're going to compare those to Maxamet. So as you guys can see here, I know these aren't the best quality pictures. I went with a cheaper USB microscope. Don't have a ton of money to spend on this kind of stuff, but it does the job. You guys can see right here just how refined the edge looks. These are both taken to the exact same edge finish, by the way. You can see just how refined the edge looks. Perfectly flat, no chipping, no rolling, nothing. Move on to the next picture here. Same deal, refined scratch pattern. We do see one little tiny anomaly there in the edge. I'm not sure what that is. But this is a hair whittling edge, so just like the Maxamet was. And again, here for the third picture, very clean, very uniform, no weird, chips, rolls, nothing like that. That is off of fresh sharpening, obviously. Take a look at Maxamet here. So this is after a little bit of use. As you guys, this is my theory was that Maxamet, instead of rolling or just plain old doling like normal steel suit, my theory was that it chips at a microscopic level and breaks down from there, which is actually a good thing because you still maintain sharpness. It still stays working level sharp, and you're able to continue your day-to-day use and continue to cut with it. So that was before I got this USB microscope, and now seeing the pictures, that seems to be true. You guys can see a tiny bit of chipping here. There's one chip here, a little bit there, a bigger one here, another one there, another one there, a pretty decent sized one here. So this is stuff that's undetectable to my eye, and even if I run my fingernail over it, I can't feel it. Again, we got, looks like instead of being a nice clean flat edge, you guys can see how it's a little bit raggedy throughout here. Really noticeable right in here. That's probably where it's starting to chip a little bit. Looks like a small chip here, and another one here, and a little bit here as it trails off the screen. It's actually really cool to see this kind of stuff up close, and it's cool to validate my initial theory on how Maxamet breaks down. A little bit more here, a little bit here. Looks like two small spots close together right there. Looks pretty good throughout here, and then you have this big chip right there, and then another dip right here. So it just seems to be that's the case. This is out towards the tip, something that seems the most use for my use. You guys can see actually little pieces of metal that are starting to flake off here. I'm not sure what's going on there. I wish I had a more capable microscope to see that a little bit closer. But you do have some small chipping here, here, and the light's a little bit too bright on this side. But it looks like some metal is flaking off, which is interesting. Here's a really close up. What we got, again, it's just not nearly as clean and flat. Let me see if I can put two pictures together here. It's not nearly as clean and flat as the super blue stuff. Put these two together here. So you guys can see the true differences here between super blue on the right and then Maxamet here on the left. See how much more clean and flat this edge is. You guys can see here on the left, Maxamet is a little bit more wavy. This edge is pretty much completely broken down at this point. I took these right before I sharpened. And again, here's the final picture here. You guys can still see, again, some of the microchipping that's going on here at a microscopic level. Very cool to validate what I thought was going on. And Maxamet is completely unique in this regard of how it breaks down. It doesn't roll. It just chips at a microscopic level, and nothing that you actually can notice with your eye or with your fingernail, just by feel or even through cutting. It maintains that nice working edge for a long period of time, which is awesome for an EDC steel. Okay, so right before I left on that trip, I decided to sharpen it again. I did it on live stream, so if you guys are interested in that, that's a couple videos ago now, so you can go check that out if you'd like. Otherwise, I'll just sum it up here. It sharpened super easily, just like it did the first time. I just matched the angle that was already on it. To be precise, it's 16.8 degrees per side. Took it through the full progression, 200 diamond, 600 diamond, 800 diamond, 1000 diamond, and then 1200 and 1600 grit ceramics. The only thing I did different this time as opposed to the first time, so if you guys watched the first video, what I did is I made the scratch pattern straight up and down. This one you can see the scratch pattern is facing backwards. So with knives like this that are high carbide steels, they tend to have a little bit of bite to them even when you take them to a higher grit finish. So what happens is you have those little, like, for lack of a better term, micro serrations in the edge. And if you do the typical wicked edge motions where you're going heel to tip, those micro serrations are facing this way. And I do a lot of draw cutting and like slicing motions, and those are facing the completely wrong way for what I'm trying to do there. So what I did this time with moving them back this way is as I'm pulling on a cut like this, those little micro serrations should be catching whatever I'm trying to cut, and they should cut it a little bit easier. And so far that's been the case. We won't get into that too much. That I'll save most of that for episode 3. I'm trying different edge finishes, different scratch patterns, just to kind of see what works best with Maxamet. We're in the future, we're gonna take the edge finish down. We're gonna go to 1200, and then 1000, and then 800, then 600, and we might even try a 200 grit finish, just to see maybe how it performs with that. But otherwise, that's pretty much it as far as sharpening goes. It sharpened up nice. I also stropped it on 1 micron diamond spray on basswood, and it took a nice level of sharpness. Sliced computer paper easily, sliced phone book paper easily. It's not quite as a refined edge as the other edge that I had with up and down, and the reason for that, I think, is because when you have that scratch pattern going up and down and then I strop and you're making these motions stropping, what you're doing is it's a different motion as opposed to where the edge was already facing down. So what I was doing, I was actually kind of refining any of those little teeth that were there. And this one, I did stropping motions like this just to match the edge finish that was already here. So I think the edge finish is actually a bit more coarse on this one, believe it or not, just because of that fact. But anyhow, I've been super impressed with this. So one of my good buddies here in the knife community, BJ Hill, you guys may have seen his comments on some other videos or seen him on Facebook, anything like that. But he actually just picked up a knife in Maxamet as well. I think he has a Manix 2. And we've been discussing the Maxamet stuff for a while. Even before I bought this knife and started the Maxamet experience, we kind of wanted to push the boundaries of this steel and see what it's really capable of. I'm eventually going to get there and really abuse this thing, but I wanted to see how it performed day-to-day use first. But when BJ got his in, he went straight to it and started just abusing the crap out of the factory edge. And he sent me some videos. I asked him if I could put them here in the video. And I figured you guys would be very interested in that because this kind of stuff is super cool. We were initially talking on, like how it would perform when it came to zip ties, because that's something that people come in contact with in their everyday lives pretty often, and it's stuff that you need to cut. And with this being as hard of a steel as it is and kind of unforgiving to that kind of stuff, we were kind of curious how it would perform with zip ties. So he went ahead and zip tied two, I think it was 2 logs or 2, I'm not really sure, 2 pieces of wood together. And he just went to it and started really pretty much abusing that Manix 2. I'll throw the video clip up right now. And it was super cool. It was very interesting to see how well it cut them, for one, and then for 2, just how well it held up. It still sliced paper easily. It did a good job. No major chipping, none of that. And then we started to talk about just the fact that something else that occurs in day-to-day use is as people are cutting through cardboard, especially me at work, there's big chunks or there's big staples in them. And if you're not careful, you might slip and run right into one of those staples. So BJ took it upon himself to throw some staples into a piece of cardboard, and instead of cutting into the cardboard, he just ran the edge straight down on top of the staples, and then actually was smacking the edge into the staples as well, as you guys are probably seeing right now. And that's above and beyond what any of us are gonna end up doing to our knives in day-to-day use. That's I would say that that's more abuse than 95% of the knife community ever does to any of their knives. And if you're a guy that bought a Maxamet knife because of the steel, you probably know that that's probably something that you're not going to do, and you're not going to end up doing it. But it's nice to see that Maxamet can stand up to that. And like I said, that's out the factory edge, which is arguably the weakest it's ever going to be. As you sharpen it, the edge should just get stronger unless you run into some sort of weird anomaly in the steel that, causes it to fail. But so what we're seeing from this is Maxamet is not glass. It's not as fragile as everyone kind of made it out to be. And the initial reports and the initial videos and forum posts and everything led everyone to believe that this steel is super brittle. It's like glass. Doesn't work, or not a good steel for day-to-day use. And through the second episode of this, that's not what we're finding. What we're finding is it's an extremely capable steel that can actually hold up to a lot more than what everyone says that it can. As far as just edge retention, that's crazy edge retention. That's, on cutting cardboard, on cutting plastic, on cutting anything that's pretty much softer than this steel at whatever Rockwell it is, that 64 to 69. That it could be at possibly. It doesn't seem to be bothered by. If you drop it straight down onto concrete, you're probably going to have an issue. But even then, I think BJ said he dropped his tip down onto, I don't know what he dropped it onto, but had no issue. I dropped mine's tip down onto tile here in the house, and no chips, no rolling, no nothing. So pretty impressive stuff. Through episode 2, I'm very impressed, and it's a steel that I highly recommend. And I would encourage you guys, if you're looking at the steel, to probably go pick one of these up and share your experiences with me, because the more people we can get doing this, the more individual reports, the more we can kind of dispel these rumors and false information that this steel is no good for day-to-day use. So it'll probably be a good couple of weeks before you guys see episode 3. I'm trying to go from sharpening to sharpening before we do another episode. So it'll probably be a couple of weeks, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to drop a like down below and subscribe to continue to see more of the Maxamet experience. As always, guys, thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.